Hello again, friends and franchise mavens. This week is Chapter 6, The Process of Investing. I am Greg Mohr, M-O-H-R. You can get a hold of me at greg@franchisemaven.com. That's Greg at franchise, M-A-V as in Victor, E-N.com, or 361-772-6401. I am the author of Real Freedom, Why Franchises Are Worth Considering and How They Can Be Used for Building Wealth. We are going through my book, and this week is Chapter 6, The Process of Investing. In our last chapter, we talked about the funding process to finance your franchise. In previous chapters, we also talked about the different types of franchises that you could get into: single unit, area developer, and master franchises. We've gone through non-franchise opportunities as well, what we call business opportunities, and master franchises. This should give you a good general feel for the different types of franchises that you can get into and the different things that you can do. We also looked at a couple of people that have looked into franchising and their backgrounds. We're going to go through now as our actual process. So what is the process we take? You and I will go through this process together to find franchises that fit your goals and fit your criteria. What I want you to do is get a feel for exactly the kind of questions that we're going to be asking, and what we're looking for, why we're asking them, and how am I going to use that information then to find franchises that fit what you are trying to accomplish. The main goal here is looking at where have you been, where are you at now, and where do you want to be 5 to 10 years from now. We're going to go through all that together. And this is not just for me. This should hold for any good franchise consultant that you get in contact with. And so Rick came to me after he looked into franchises. He had also owned a couple of his own businesses, and he also worked for a corporation. Rick was a business development consultant. He'd been a marketing director and opened a couple of businesses for himself, but ultimately he wasn't exactly where he wanted to be. He needed something that was going to help him out. He was looking for a flexible schedule, an ability to interact with clients, plan solutions to their problems, and he wanted influence with proposals, pricing, and executive planning. He didn't like the corporate world, which is why he started a couple of his own businesses. Rick was looking at something that he could do along with his current business that he ran, something absentee or semi-absentee. He didn't actually want to have to work in the business itself, doing the actual work. He was more for working on the business so that he could grow his own team of people. What we looked at were his expectations. What did he want to accomplish? What he actually wanted to accomplish, he only had partial funds for, but that didn't stop him. So what did we do with Rick? The first thing I do with everybody is the initial phone call. So step one on the initial phone call. Again, this goes for any good franchise consultant that you'll be working with. I'm going to ask you things like, is this a specific inquiry, a general inquiry? Maybe you have something that's specific in mind that you'd like to answer or that you're looking for, or maybe you need some help investigating a specific franchise or business, or you don't know anything about franchising and this is more of a general inquiry. So what I'm really looking for is what kind of experience do you have at looking into franchising? What are you expecting to get out of a franchise? What do you see the franchise doing for you? We've got to get these expectations out pretty quick because we need to know if your expectations are reasonable. And I'll let you know that. Most of the time, most of my people are pretty reasonable expectations. There are a few times when they want to replace their income, they got an income of $250,000 or more a year and want to replace it within the first year. Now, a startup franchise is probably not going to do that for you. So what do you see a franchise doing for you? What is it about a franchise that has appealed to you? What has you looking into franchising at this point in time in your life? Some people may want the franchise to supply them with all the clients. They do not want to have find clients on their own. Not entirely unreasonable expectation. There are some franchises that are better at generating leads for you in businesses than others. And we'll take a look at that as well. There are actually a few of them out there that actually generate quite a few leads for you. What we're going through is really getting to know each other. I want to ask you questions. I want you to ask questions about me and about franchising. Because in the end, it's going to come down to you feeling good about having me help you with the franchise selection and investigation. Do you like me? Do you trust me enough at this point in time to move forward? That's what the first initial phone call is all about. Another thing I'm going to look at is how much time and money you're looking to invest, because those are the two major points along the way. It doesn't matter if you want a little bit of time or you've got a lot of time to invest. We've got franchises that are absentee, semi-absentee, and ones that require full-time. We can find something for you in any industry with those expectations in mind. I should say almost any industry, not necessarily any. The other thing is, of course, financial requirements. Each franchise has different requirements for liquid and net worth. Basically, you're looking at coming up with a franchise fee to begin with. It's going to be around $50,000 cash, give or take. For the most part, most franchises are looking for a net worth of around $200,000 or more. There's some that are a little bit lower than that as well, specifically in the service industry that we talked about before. And although the franchise fee is $50,000 cash, when you're getting into the service industry, and as we talked about before, when you're getting into a loan, an SBA loan, express loan, you don't necessarily need to have that cash yourself. That could be part of the express loan for that one as well. So if you don't have all the money, if you don't have all the cash, that's where the loans come in, and that's how we get around that. We will see what you qualify for and what franchises fit within your qualifications in there. Again, getting into the service industry is probably the least amount of investment. You are looking at needing, 50,000 cash, 200,000 net worth or more. Again, if we go into an express loan, basically that'll cover all that for you. And again, I'm going to go through this and I'm going to ask you, okay with this? You okay with getting the loan? How do you want to go about doing it? Getting to know you, making sure your expectations are there. You are going to share your goals, expectations, and what you're trying to accomplish with me. I will answer any questions that you have about me, my background, my franchising background, my business background, anything you need to know so that you can get to know me better. So at this point in time, if you haven't hung up on me and said, no way I'm working with this dude, and you are going to move on with me and your expectations from my standpoint are reasonable, at that point in time, we'll move into step 2. Step 2, our next phone call is where we'll get to know each other and set our expectations. After the first call, if I haven't done so already, I will send you the background information on myself and the team I work with so you can look me over, look us over, make sure you're comfortable working with me. I'll also, after our first call, send you my email, your preparation for upcoming call on franchising options. In there, we have the due diligence process. So you and I will go through together to not only find franchises that are a good fit for you, but then how we're going to walk you through the investigation process itself so that you can make an informed decision whether or not franchising is right for you to begin with. And if it is, then which franchise is right for you. In there, there's also going to be a matrix of business types. That'll get your creative juices flowing, get you thinking about the different types of franchise business opportunities that you can get into as well. And last but not least, your next step then after our first phone call and receiving that email is to fill out the questionnaire. Questionnaire is where you tell us all about your background, brag about yourself as much as possible. So I'm going to use that information to introduce you to the franchises that you are interested in. So I'm gathering as much information as I can about you to get to know you as well as I can. You've made it this far in life. You've done something great. Tell us all about it. Tell me all about it. I tell the franchises all about it. I know who they are looking for in a successful franchisee. So we talk to them all the time, get to know who they're looking for. I just need to know who you're looking for. That's how I do the good matchup on that one. There's also questions in there about your finances. As I indicated before, each franchise has certain qualifications for the candidates, because in essence, they do not want you to run out of money. Now, the finance part, I leave that as optional. You can enter that into the questionnaire. You can leave that blank. We'll have to talk about it at some point in time, because again, as I indicated, franchises have certain qualifications. Financial qualifications is one of them. Making sure that you don't run out of money, you don't fail. We do not want that. Nobody wants that. All right. Step 2. Due diligence process, all about you. Next step is all about you. So the first phone call, you ask me as many questions as you want about myself. I get to know you a little bit with your expectations. You ask me about franchising background, get to know me as well as possible. Second step, step 2, due diligence process. I ask you, I get to know you as much as I can. 30 minutes to an hour or so, depending on how long it takes. And again, how many questions you have as well. But it's going to be all about you, going over the questionnaire, going all throughout the going through the matrix of business types. Again, we're really looking for where have you been? So what do you bring to the table? What background, what experiences do you have? Where are you at now? What are you doing in life? You still working? You're not working? You still want to work? You don't want to work? Kind of need to know that. And then where do you want to be 5 to 10 years from now? What are you looking for? Just one simple business, build an empire? I'm going to go through all of that. We're also going to go through how you're going to pay for the investment. So finances as well, that kind of helps on that one. I have many, again, we've talked about before, I have many funding partners that can help us out on that. And if you like, I'll introduce you to our funding folks on the next step as well, so you can get a general idea of what kind of funding is available out there for the franchise. As I talked about before, some people like to use other people's money. Some people don't want to go into debt. So we'll go over all that as well. Now, once we've gone through all that, I've gathered all the information that I can on you, answered all your questions, gone through the matrix of business type, gone through the questionnaire. Step 3 is where I make a match. So I've gathered as much information as I can. Now that you and I have talked, that's it for you. So you get to sit back and wait for a couple of days. It's time I do all the work. 3, 4, 5 matches is what I'm looking for in a franchise that fit what you're looking to accomplish. I work with a few hundred different franchises. And again, like I said before, I have phone calls with them all the time. I know who they are looking for in a potential franchisee. And now I've got your information, so I know what you're looking for in a potential franchise. This is where the big challenge comes for me. Just from a financial standpoint, just from, I don't know which side of the brain, left side brain standpoint, just analytical side of the brain, it's very easy just to put the information together. Okay, franchise are looking for this, you're looking for that, make a match. But there's also how you're going to feel about it. You've got to feel good about it. You've got to be able to picture yourself doing that business. So that's where the challenge comes in for me, is figuring out which one of the few hundred franchises, or which 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 you would feel good about. So that's my challenge. That's what I do on that. But I will come up with a few different matches for you on that one. I usually around 5 or so. Our next phone call, we're going to go through each one of those. What your role is going to be, background of the franchise, why I feel it's a good fit for you. We're also going to determine which franchises you'd like to investigate further. So out of those 5 or so franchises that I send out to you, we're going to reduce them down to 2. The 2 that you feel good about, the 2 that you can picture yourself doing. At that point in time, then I will introduce you to the franchises. I will let the franchises know you are interested. I will send that questionnaire over to the franchises that you indicate you want to learn more about. And off we go into the franchise investigation process. So steps 4 and 5 is reviewing and narrowing down opportunities. So I had Allison come to me at one point in time. She was in the corporate world, working as a business manager, wasn't too happy with the corporate situation. Allison had a background as a controller and a degree in accounting. We went through the process, and I came up with 4 or 5 ideas for her. She liked the ideas that I came up with and was interested in them, but was most interested in the martial arts studio I showed her. She said, I really like working with kids. I really like seeing kids active and being productive in kids' lives. I never would have thought of something like that if you hadn't showed it to me. So that's what I do. I try to get down into the depths of you to figure out what would you feel good about doing in life. Debbie was another one. She was really surprised with that, with what I'd shown her. I came up with some ideas for her, but she said, again, I never would have thought about these things if you hadn't shown them to me on that one. So when I ask you all these questions, that's what I'm really trying to get down to is, what you would feel good about doing, what you get up in the morning and just, like to tell the world about. This is great. Quite a few people, they just want to make a lot of money. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, they're good to go on that one. Essential services are a good business. Some people want to make money. Some people want to make a difference in people's lives. So those are the kind of things that we're going to go through together. And we may go back and forth a few times on different franchise opportunities on that one. I get it most of the time. I get it right on the first go around, but not always on that one. So we may have to go back. And as you start looking at these franchises, you're going to start thinking about other things. You're going to see what these franchises do for you, and it's going to be like new ideas are going to come into your mind, into your head, and then we'll go back and forth. But we will get to the point where we find good franchise fits for you. So once we got that, and the franchise investigation itself usually takes around 6 weeks, 8 weeks, just depending on how fast or slow you want to go. Funding takes about the same amount of time. So next step is going through the franchise investigation process itself, step 6. So the only thing that's holding you back if you want to get started like right now, because you really love this franchise, is the fact that you have to legally have the franchise disclosure documents in your hands for 2 weeks before you can purchase a franchise. Franchisors are going to take you through the process just like I did. They get to know you, you get to know them. They take you through the operations manual, training manual, how they're going to do the marketing, how they're going to get you clients, how to find employees, and show you how to find employees as well. They'll go through everything that's involved in the franchise system so that you get a good feel for that franchise business. You're going to have some background on the franchise, who's running it, their background, any legal issues, any bankruptcies, if they put their financial data on franchises, the financial performances, all that's going to be in the franchise disclosure documents. There's also going to be a list of people that are currently running the franchise, as well as a list of people who started the franchise and are no longer running. So pretty simple math to get a success rate. We like to see 85 to 90% success rate or better on those. Many different reasons why franchisees failed the business. A lot of times it's one of the spouses had to move out of the area, so they had to move the whole thing out. So they weren't really watching it. They turned it over to a family member to run it who wasn't vetted out by the franchise first. But you can ask the franchise, why these people fail on that. So again, once you get those franchise disclosure documents in your hand, you go through the process. You're going to start talking to the franchisees, and you want to talk to as many franchisees as possible until you start hearing the same thing over and over again. So it gets kind of repetitive. Hopefully it's all good that you're hearing. If it's not what you like, and it's not you're liking what you're hearing, then we know we're on the wrong track and we need to move on to a different franchise and tell them no thank you. So if you are thinking that you want to be the most successful franchise in the system, when you start talking to the franchisees, you want to talk to the franchisees who are the most successful in the system. Get a feel for what they do on a daily basis. Try and picture yourself in your mind doing that on a daily basis. If you can, you're on the right track. If not, then one of two options is you hire somebody to do that for you, or you move on to a different franchise on that one. All right, so you've gone through that. They showed you everything. Franchisors told you everything about the franchise. You've gone through the franchise disclosure documents. You've talked to the different franchisees in the system. The next step is what they call the discovery day or the meet the team day, which is where you go to the offices of the franchise. Now, since the COVID thing, this has changed a little bit. Sometimes they do it virtually, but most of the time they're still going to do it where you go to the offices and you meet that team in person. You're going to meet those people that are going to help you become successful. That's where you ask all those difficult questions, face-to-face conversations, get to know them, do a good gut check at that point in time. Make sure they are the type of people that you want to be working with over the next 5 to 10 years, and that you see yourself being successful with the help of these folks on that. So on Discovery Day, it's usually a day or two event, and you really get to know everybody on a personal level. I like it when they still continue to bring you out to their offices, because they'll go out to dinner with you, lunch with you. They might have an event that's going on with you like that, take you bowling or something of that sort. So you really get to know the people that you're going to be working with on that one. So Rick went there. It was kind of funny. Rick went there. Rick was, I don't know if I talked about Rick before. He came to me and he was looking to get into a franchise system with his dad. And he thought the hair salon business would be the greatest thing in the world to do. But as it turned out, we got him into a handyman franchise, him and his dad, because his dad really liked the handyman type work and liked that sort of thing. Not that his dad was going to do it, but he knew all about it and he enjoyed that a lot. But they got together with the team and went to Discovery Day. Rick didn't like the corporate world. He wanted to get out of it and grow a business with the dad. So we found him a service industry, and then he got together with those Discovery Day, which is the greatest thing in the world, because not only did they have the franchisors there with them, but they had a few franchisees at one of the events that they had, and they got together and lo and behold, there was a bowling event, but they just had a wonderful time together, because now he met with the other franchisees, got to talk with them, got to interact with them on a personal level, got a real good feel for the dynamics and the culture of the business itself, and found out that was a really great fit. So we took him from a brick and mortar hair salon over to a handyman franchise, which is a service industry in there. So it's a good thing to go to Discovery Day, good thing to meet these people and get to know them on a more personal level on that. So as we go through this process, what you and I are going to be doing, we'll be getting together about every 7 to 10 days or so on that. And we'll go over all the information that you learned, making sure you're on the right track, making sure you get all your questions answered so that you really feel good about that franchise itself. Now, you probably never get to 100% totally, this is it, greatest thing since sliced bread, but we're going to get you there as close as we can. You and I will meet every 7 to 10 days, talk about what you learned, getting the questions answered that you need answered, getting the funding, getting franchise attorneys out to you so you know what you're getting yourself into on that. And then we'll take you through the entire process. So that is it for chapter 6. Next is going to be chapter 7, what to look for, specifically what to look for in the franchise disclosure documents. In the meantime, if you all have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to me, 361-772-6401, or Greg at franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, MAV as in Victor, EN.com. Until next week, you all have a great week.